My name is Dan Tudge. I'm the director of Sword Coast Legends and the president of N-Space. What we're showing today is story mode, which I think we've been really excited to share with a lot of people for a long time, and now people are able to play not only with themselves but also with others in a group of co-op play. Wizards of the Coast has worked with us. I mean, they are a licensing partner, but they've definitely been very much a development partner with us the whole way along. So we work very close with them on the canon, on the IP itself, and ensuring that we dovetail into everything they're doing and they dovetail into everything that we're doing. So it's a very tight, synergistic experience.
What are some of the challenges in taking a tabletop game and transferring that digitally?
Well, first of all, people are very passionate about D&D. So when you translate something from the tabletop to there, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to scrutinize everything you've done, and that's been great for us because it's really kept us honest. But the truth is, you do need to make an adaptation to make it fit within the video game realm. So we've done everything we can to remain true to the vision and work very close with Wizards to ensure that happened.
So the combat is real-time instead of turn-based. What went into that decision overall?
Well, it's real time when you're playing multiplayer, but you can also play paused tactical play, not only when you're playing solo, but also in co-op with others. If everybody agrees to that, they can set that option. And I've actually played through the whole story with two other people, my kids, actually my sons, and we've used pause and play because some of those boss battles are pretty tough, and it's nice to be able to pause.
So talk about this game. What's going on in the world of this game?
I don't really want to get too deep and too spoilery. I mean, we're so close, but you're a member of a guild, the Order of the Burning Dawn, and the reasons for your guild have kind of been lost over time, and you're sort of thrown into turmoil very early into the game and really need to sort of resolve, hey, where are we coming from? What's our guild all about, and why are these people hunting us? And you're being hunted almost to extinction.
So what are some of the challenges when making the tools for people to build their own dungeon adventure?
That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge for us was to make accessible tools, but also tools that provided the depth for players. And there are definitely DMs, and we've seen it with our module creation. People are creating the most elaborate. They're doing things I didn't even imagine they could do with our tools. So giving them that sort of depth to the tools, but also that ease of use, so people jump right in and create content. That was a huge challenge, and I'm very happy to say is going quite well.
You guys are having a console release as well. What were the challenges in mapping the interface to a controller UI?
Well, that's definitely been something that's been difficult for us, but N-Space as an organization has a lot of console experience in the past, so it's something that has possibly been more difficult in the past. On Dragon Age Origins, for example, it was a very difficult task for us to do, but here with this title at N-Space, it's been a lot better. We've had a much better stretch of it, and the consoles as well too. The hardware is great now, and it's easy to use, and it's very powerful, so that's really helped as well.
So how has community feedback helped improve your game overall with the design tools?
Oh, the community feedback's been huge. I mean, we've definitely got very, very vocal people within our community. We've got a lot of great support, and we've got a lot of people that hold our feet to the fire, and so we've been working closely with them, and I mean, taking every single thing that they've talked about in depth and bringing it into our what we call our backlog. And I've personally triaged over 500 items in the backlog and brought them in prioritized order and how we're going to address those. So we're definitely listening and working, and we have a very vocal community.
Now, for someone who plays D&D, this is such an in-deep tool set. Explain how they can literally take their campaign from a tabletop pen and paper into this digital game.
Well, that's a really interesting point. One of the things I put to the designers when we framed this all out for them was, I want you to take this campaign, and I actually gave them the 5th edition starter set, and I said, I want you to take this campaign, and I want you to reproduce it. I want you to reproduce it, and I want anybody to be able to reproduce it. And if they can't, the tools aren't done. And so I think we got to a place where you can create that content real quickly and real easy, and just recreate your favorite homebrew or your favorite module or whatever your heart desires.
So you guys have 5 classes starting. What were some of the challenges in designing and balancing out the 5 classes digitally?
I think for us, the balance of the classes wasn't nearly as difficult as the scope of the classes. There's a lot of races and classes, and you've got your sub-races and your backgrounds, and there's a lot of depth to D&D. So we actually chose to focus on a smaller subset and make sure that was very, very solid, and we totally plan to address the rest, and we'll be announcing more about that soon.
So we'll see, perhaps we can see druids and necromancers in the future?
Yes, and drow and tieflings and warlocks. Yeah, I mean, we've got requests for all of it. Monks is a big request too.
So talk about how many different enemy models you have in the game, as well as like props and treasures and everything like that.
Honestly, hundreds. I'm not even sure the number. I mean, it's growing every day. We added some on our last head start. The reality is the number is almost infinite because you can completely change those characters. You can completely change those monsters. You can change the color of their robes. You can change their stats. You can redistribute all their stats. You can change their abilities. add more abilities, create your own exclusive. And we've seen that as well too with our modules. We've seen spacemen come out of our character customizer, and it's just amazing to see what you can be done. So, I mean, the answer is almost kind of infinite, really.
What's it like having new generation console hardware able to run your game, unlike the past Xbox 360 and the PS3? We have more powerful consoles now, higher textures, more things on screen at once. How's that, as a developer, helped you create the game experience?
Well, I mean, I think game developers are always going to tax everything to the max. I mean, we started off very early on with amazing performance, and then towards the end of the project, next thing you know, we're having to make performance improvements. And it's the same, it's true on PC as it is on console, as it is on Mac. It really is, developers always, it's their job to push it as hard as you can, and so we've pushed it as hard as we can, but we do believe that this type of product, especially being an isometric RPG, is going to have a relatively low level of entry when it comes to hardware, so we've been made sure that right from get-go that we can satisfy a lot of people with a lot of very low-level hardware. So, yeah, we've done that, and sort of that's helped us as well with consoles, to remain with good performance on those platforms.
We've seen a resurgence of RPGs like Sword Quest Legends with Divinity Original Sin and Pillars of Eternity. Why do you think now they're starting to make a comeback?
I think now because developers can make them. I mean, honestly, I don't think the desire for those titles ever went away. I think the appetite from old school publishing and old school development, work for hire. I worked at EA, I worked at Disney, I worked at very large organizations, and the bottom line that you had to make in order for those to make business sense in those at those companies was very, very difficult. And we saw that when we first started pitching this title as well too, that the numbers added up, they were quite difficult. As soon as we took that out of the equation and went direct to consumer, went direct to the fans and said, hey, let's make this together, all of a sudden the numbers made a lot more sense. And that's what I think's happened. I think people are able to actually make the titles they want to make.
So when you're building your own adventure, you can type in and have NPCs say certain things or describe certain things. How will that translate over to the console version of the game?
We're not really talking a whole lot about that, but we're definitely looking at keeping all of that in there. It is difficult. You're limited. There's a lot less controller, but I mean, there's a lot less buttons literally to have that input. But we decided very early on with console is not to dumb it down for them, is to provide them with everything they want. And if it is a little tougher for them to do on their platform, then that's the way it is. And we want to make sure that they get access to everything that they would on the PC.
Do you have a favorite class to play in the game right now? Oh,
that's easy. Yeah, Rangers. I love Rangers. And this is probably no mistake. It's probably one of the most enjoyable classes because I have played it through so many times. It is a lot of fun. The Ranger is a lot of fun. It was very OP'd when we first had it in there, and it's balanced out quite nicely. Paladin's a lot of fun to play as well too. So, and actually, typically, I played through Baldur's Gate, and I played through pretty much every RPG you could think of. And I don't often play a wizard, but I've played a lot of wizard here because it is a lot of fun.
So, what advice would you have to someone playing a ranger in your game?
Crowd control. I think crowd control, and it's interesting. Playing with a ranger, I think the whole aspect of crowd control is there's a lot of abilities that help you restrain enemies and hold back enemies. But the fact that your summon, your companion, your ranger's companion, can get you out of a lot of sticky spots. You got a sliver of health yet? It's a mean thing to do, but you can always go get another wolfie.
And when does your game come out, and what platforms will it be on?
Our game is out on October 20th, and that's for all desktop platforms, so PC, Mac, and Linux.
Any release date for a console yet, or no?
Early 2016.